Welcome to Grawlix Nights, the Grawlix Podcast live show. I'm Randy.
I'm Melanie.
And I'm Jesse.
What's going on, everybody? Wow, we're back.
We are back.
Oh, wow.
Wow!
Well, you know what? If we were on Netflix, we might not be back, and people
Yeah.
might be canceling their accounts.
Are they?
Yet there's been a couple stories this week. Netflix, people are, wow, Savannah says. People are all kinds of salty at Netflix. And it's kind of justified, I think. Kind of justified.
For canceling stuff and raising prices and whatnot?
For canceling stuff, raising prices, cracking down on password sharing, their stocks, their whoever's are unhappy with them. They were supposed to have gained X amount of subscribers to 2 million or something, and they'd actually had lost like 200,000. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah. Well, stop messing around, Netflix.
Paul, before you jump out, what are the headline shows? Paul is a good point. Here's what we're talking about tonight. We're talking about Moon Knight and Doctor Who primarily.
Yeah.
I also want to talk a little bit about X, which is a movie we watched, and we are not talking about the Batman.
Nope.
The worst Batman that ever was. We're gonna hold off on the worst Batman movie that ever was and talk about that next week.
Yes.
And
It needs a whole episode.
It's so terrible. It needs a whole episode. I rated it 5 stars out of the scale of, I don't know.
5 stars.
I don't know. I've lost it. I don't know where to go with this anymore. Yeah, so I teased, I think, on Twitter, Batman talk, but we're going to hold off because Jesse has not gotten a chance to watch it, and it's a 3-hour movie. You have to dedicate time.
Uh-huh.
That's right, Paul, you have a week for Batman.
Yeah, but watch it. You have to. Uh-oh,
Jesse's muted.
I am muted. The HBO Max gods were not in my favor today, so
right. I'm glad it made a bunch of money in the theater. I am also glad they rushed that thing to HBO Max super fast because I didn't get a chance to go to the theater, and I enjoyed being able to actually watch it though. Yeah, I'm glad.
Yeah, me too. I'm glad they sent it because I wanted you to watch it, and I knew I wasn't going to get you out to the theater. So.
Because I don't leave. Ever.
You don't really.
Why would you?
I don't need to go.
Everything you need is at home.
It's here.
Where people are not.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
And if it's not, then I'll bring it. So.
Listen, last time I went to a big public thing, I got sick.
You did.
It might have been the vid. So.
Yeah.
It's Maynard's fault.
Yeah. But honestly, I mean, I wouldn't mind getting sick if it meant I got to see Tool personally, but that's me.
So first though, how are you two doing here? Hey, what's up?
How are we doing here? We're doing here just fine.
I got a weird thing going on tonight. I don't know what it is. Weird energy.
Yep.
I was thinking about a thing. So imagine you have a pair of shoes.
Okay.
You love those pair of shoes. They're great.
Okay.
There may be maybe sometimes they're not always the best, but generally you really like them. They're super cool, in the right company. But at a certain point you notice like, hey, I think a cat peed on these shoes. Hey, I think a homeless guy might have took a dump in these shoes, and I just can't get the smell out. And you're walking in these shoes, and you're like, oh, these used to be great, and now there's like holes and there's water. Your socks all soggy, and there's something pokey, and it's poking at you, and you're like, oh, I should just get rid of these shoes. Paul says, are you breaking up with me? I should just get rid of these shoes. But then you look forward, you're like, oh, if I just keep trekking to these shoes just a little bit longer, there's brand new shoes up there. The original creator of these shoes that I really enjoyed is up there, and he's gonna recraft my shoes. He's gonna make them nice. But it looks like maybe until I get to that point, I would just throw them out. But I'm so close. Maybe I'll put on some nice, cozy old socks that I really like. But then again, if you put them in now, the nasty soggy shoes gonna ruin those socks. So I wish they'd held off on those. My shoes are Doctor Who. I hate this show.
That was actually worth the payoff. I was like, where is he going with this, and why are we in shoes? What?
Right.
Savannah says, no, you have to take care of your feet, knees and back, rely on your feet. They do.
Yeah.
They do.
Although I thought
do not put a new sock in this shoe. This shoe sucks.
But what if you've got some like familiar old socks that you haven't seen for a long time, and you really like at least one pair of those socks? You could.
I'm not sold
you could just,
on that trailer either. I was burned by the trailer before this, and now I don't trust any trailers.
Why they got to bring Ace in? You could listen.
Yeah.
Chibi. Have Keegan. I don't care.
I think that Ace could be done very well. Chibi is not the guy to do it. It's too soon, or it's too late. One or the other.
That metaphor had some legs.
Freaking Tegan.
I'm glad that worked out as well.
And those legs were made for walking.
Yeah. No. So I'm segueing right into Doctor Who. Oh, Paul says, is this the time I need to roll out?
If you haven't seen Doctor Who, probably.
I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
If you haven't wasted your time with Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Let him form his own opinion. Come on.
You're right. It's great.
Maybe he'll love it.
I love it.
I think part of the problem was that the last Doctor Who that we saw was surprisingly great. When you think, just like no spoilers, just on the premises alone, on paper, though, you look at it and you go, okay, so we can watch an episode about a storage unit with some Daleks in it, or we could watch an episode of Sea Devil Silurians, which we haven't seen since, like, I don't know, maybe I think it was the 5th Doctor where the Sea Devils were last, right? Like, we haven't seen them for decades, right? So we could have storage unit Daleks, or we could have Sea Devil pirates in ancient China. Which one sounds better?
It also has the most famous female pirate in history.
Yes, yeah.
So, there you go.
So,
how do you mess this up?
You give it to Chibnall.
I feel like there's nobody necessarily new here, but if they are, like, listen, I'm not normally like, I hate this show. I don't know why, but this episode,
It did it.
I was mad from the opening scene. I was actively angry. Maybe I think I was in a bad mood, to be honest.
You might have been, but no, it was okay. It opened with ridiculous cuts that made no sense, and the most horrible CG.
It's real bad.
It was like, do they have any money in this show anymore, or did they already spend it all? And this is like some 12-year-old trying to get on, VFX artist reactor or something. I don't know.
It was. I feel like they blew their budget on digital backdrops and trying to make it look cinematic. But like then when it came time to the big effects, that opening it looked like 90s TV CG. It was real horrible. But no, you're right on how it was the editing. Like something about it, I was like, beyond just the crap writing that it gets into, it felt weird. The editing was bad. It was constructed like it was embarrassing. I was like, what is this is not TV. This is not modern TV grade quality anything. This is horrible. It's like amateur hour the way it's constructed. And I was thinking about it later. Did they think this was going to be like an hour and a half special or something? Because it just felt like it was just butchered, like just chopped down to where that, or like just the action was so incompetently filmed that they're just like, we'll just make it work. Like, it was real bad.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Also, the writing is terrible, and I hated it.
And they put Dan in a stupid pirate costume, and it wasn't like, I know they were playing it for laughs, but it was just dumb. It wasn't funny. It was dumb.
Right. Real quick, Paul said, before I leave, I'm assuming he already left though, it says, hear me out, Daleks, but they're pirates. I would totally watch that.
I could buy that. Like, that actually sounds like fun. Because Daleks would just be like on a boat, and they'd be like, I don't know, mutiny!
Yeah.
Explain!
I actually actively did not want to talk about this episode after it was over. And it's weird because it's like, I don't know, I guess it's innocent. Thinking about some of the like ridiculous stuff of the Chibnall era, it's innocent enough, but at the same time, it's just a matter, like, because it doesn't have the, maybe it can, I don't know. I'm not that minded. It doesn't have the thing that I'm assuming that the won't go broke crowd, like, complains about. It didn't have necessarily the whatever political messaging or anything that I think people get upset about. It was a pretty innocuous.
If anything, I would say it's like anti SJW, because they're like, well, that's what you get when you take your kids to work, lady.
What? Who took who to work?
The
pirate lady.
Oh, okay.
Worst mom ever. Best pirate ever.
The story was so choppy and nonsensical, and it was just like exposition dump scene, exposition dump scene, exposition dump, and then like connecting the pieces between the exposition dumps. I was like, no, this is not a story.
Nothing
doesn't
made
make sense.
Even stuff that they'd thrown out there, like Holly actually defended some things where I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. She took off in the TARDIS, and Dan can still speak Chinese.
Yes. Randy was all about that.
I was like, the TARDIS is gone. So are they all just speaking English?
I think Holly is right. I think that the psychic connection does linger for a while, but I don't remember who came up with that, and I don't agree with it.
Don't you dare! Because it's not only is that a plot hole, and it's I'll overlook that kind of stupid stuff. She shouldn't have left Dan.
She shouldn't have done that in the first place.
The TARDIS is not reliable.
Right.
Yeah. And why did they leave in the first place? They literally like jumped 200 and something years and happened to like catch the day that the Sea Devils were plot forwarding or exposition dumping. Like they happened to walk in on that scenario and then jumped right back to where if you like got up to go to the bathroom and then come back, you wouldn't even known there was a time jump. It was pointless. Like what?
Yeah. Well, they're
pulling this one guy.
No, they were looking for the ship that she was looking for, so that's why they went to the past, and then that's where it went down. So that's why they went where they went in the future. There was reason for that, but it didn't. It was dumb still.
But she left a companion. She intentionally and knowingly left a companion in a time period. And it was like, oh, he'll be fine.
Like that hasn't happened before. Or at least you leave him in the middle of space, or in a ship about to crash into the planet.
Generally, that's not intentional. Generally, that's a setup for tragedy.
Right.
This was like, oh no, he's fine. He's fine. It's Dan. He wanders off.
Well, it was almost spiteful. It was almost like, well, I shouldn't have run off.
Yeah.
It seemed very irresponsible.
I don't think the Doctor's all that responsible, honestly.
No. But at least, listen.
It's because I
agree
Dan.
with the 13th Doctor. I also don't care about Dan. Where's he at? Who cares? Let's go. Because he's a nothing character.
Right.
But it was weird. It was a weird decision.
Really just there to be a third wheel.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's just there so it's not just, I guess, awkward.
Sexual tension the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like any of that either.
It just doesn't really work for
No.
me because the Doctor never puts off that energy ever. This version of the Doctor, in relation to Yaz, and I could get like it could be like a Martha thing where it's pretty much one-sided.
Right.
But Tennant's Doctor was also super suave all the time. But like there just didn't.
But it was unspoken. It was all like it was never said by either character really until like that. Whatever.
Martha's like, I'm bouncing.
Yeah.
Here's basically why. And then several episodes later, Tennant's like, she fancied me. Like he knew. He just never acknowledged. And it's okay that they want to like craft this, but like honestly, the Whittaker Doctor was nothing but kind of abusive to her. And but maybe you know what, some people like that. It's fine. Maybe that's like
maybe she's a masochist. Well, I mean, she's arguably the best companion though that we've had in a long time. So why else do they stick around if not because they have a little bit of a crush on the Doctor? Which I think, I think people get crushes on the Doctor, but they're not really on the Doctor. It's like on the time travel and all this and all that, but that's the only person they know that can do that. So if there were Time Lords all over the place, then I don't know that would necessarily happen.
The Doctor'd have to develop a little bit more of a personality.
You're right. Or several.
I think it is a combination of we're down to one. Bye everybody. I think it's a combination of like the execution was real poor. The story was basically it's a combination of poorly executed, horribly written.
Yeah. Even if you just buy in on the like fan service element of the Sea Devils, this was not a good Sea Devil return. Like we waited how many decades for this?
Everything, it just felt really weird. Like he got busted out of the statue, and then there was a ship.
Right.
And like, wait, I presume he'd been in the statue for a long time, and the ship's just right there all of a sudden. Yeah. But he summoned them as he's speaking in English through this thing to his...
Which they didn't explain at all, because it was like, yeah, we haven't seen him for decades. Not everybody knows what's going on here.
Right.
Do you guys remember there was... I don't know, I'm assuming we talked about it on the show. There was a YouTube video making fun of the writing of Chibnall Era, and it had the thing where it's like... The Doctor's like, oh, I have to go over here and do a thing now, and then leaves so that the companion... Either the companions together or the companion and a random person there who sat over something that happened can then talk and have their human emotional moment.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since that, I can't help but notice it. But, like, I kind of wish somebody would have sent that to Chibnall and he'd have watched it so that he could also maybe notice when he's doing bad writing.
Yeah.
Because it's like constant every episode. This one was like the kid whose father had died. At one point, Dan's like, "Oh, your dad died." It just, I don't know. It's just that must be really hard.
It was as clunky as that too. Yeah,
that's really hard.
That's another part of it too, though, is killing off the most interesting or sympathetic characters for I don't know, for something to talk about. I don't really understand why they do it.
Also, I guess he's a historical figure, and I just don't know historical figures. But the one guy we have yet another guy who's like randomly like, oh, we're setting it up so that the Doctor has to hang back and sacrifice herself. Don't worry. This random guy will come in and he'll die for the Doctor, and the Doctor will be completely fine with it. Yeah, oh, okay, you want to commit suicide for me? Cool, here you go. Walk out.
Yeah, to be fair, though, that guy who had been gone for hundreds of years, everybody he knows is gone, so why would he care?
Why was he there?
Yeah, he was there for that purpose, right there.
Why were they holding him in suspended animation for 200 years?
Just because they
Right.
could. Like, nothing about this made any sense. They didn't
Yeah.
tie into any Silurian lore. They didn't tie into previous Sea Devils stuff. They just made the Sea Devils a bunch of jerks and didn't explain why they talked through a crystal. Nothing.
Yeah, why did they make that ship fly? If they had like a big sea monster they could travel around in, why did they need a ship?
Why did it fly? They're sea people.
I know.
They're not sky people. Well.
Yeah, but I kind of understand that because I'm an Aquarius and we're water bearers, but we're an air sign. I don't understand it. So.
That explains it. Chibi's actually really deep.
Yeah, we weren't there. Yeah. But also, that's not good writing.
No.
Like, new audiences need to know what that crud you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really hope nobody started watching Doctor Who on this episode. Cause,
Oh, my God. And we waited 4 months for this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're going to wait even longer for whatever he cooked up for the end.
But the guy who redesigned my shoes in the first place and made them really cool, he's coming. I see him.
Yeah.
It's like 2 years away or a year away, but he's there. Just got to hold on to these shoes a little bit longer.
Like, how do you know this was bad? They're already talking about announcing who the next Doctor is.
Yeah.
It's,
I think Russell T Davies in that one gas mask episode, because that was the thing that got you on Doctor Who, and then once you were on, you're for the long haul.
I was actually thinking about it because I don't know. As somebody, I seen a Reddit post about who's your favorite Doctor and why, just a generic thing, and I didn't comment on it because I'm a lurker. But I was thinking about it, and Capaldi, my favorite modern Doctor anyway.
Yeah.
And I was like, but why? He's not the first Doctor I came on with, but I think part of it is also like he's the first Doctor that I was like a hardcore Doctor Who fan for the big announcement.
Yeah.
Because you had gotten me onto Doctor Who, right, with the gas mask episode.
Right.
And we were in the Tennant era, but I was like, so we hadn't really caught up when Matt Smith became Doctor. I think he was Doctor when we had hit Tennant or so. And so like I wasn't super keyed into that, but by the time Capaldi rolled around, I'd watched every Doctor Who episode ever. I'd watched 50 plus years of Doctor Who, so
yeah, and the recreations even. Ugh.
And what's the show?
The show that Capaldi was on?
Yeah. Thick of It. That's canon.
Yeah.
It's canon Who-universe now. No. Anyway, I don't know what my point was there. I happened to the other day, on a whim, we sat down and didn't know what to watch. I was like, I'm something Doctor Who. I was like, you know what? Let's watch a good Doctor Who. And I put on, is it Turn Left, Turn Right?
Oh, Turn Left with Catherine Tate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had Melanie watch it. I don't know why. I don't know really what Melanie thought of it. I know you've seen it before. But it's so good.
Yeah, it really is.
And thinking about that, and then thinking about the episode we just watched, like, and they're different kinds of episodes. And
sure,
yeah.
RTD era and Moffat era, they have the like wacky, doesn't really work, almost historical, or whatever fan service throwback episodes. And Turn Left is not that, but
no.
It's for the most part an episode built almost entirely on just characterization, the character. The character of a companion who's just she's, I don't know, it's so weird that she turned out to be, like, she's one of my favorite companions now.
She's so good. And her season isn't necessarily great top to bottom. Like, there's some really bad stuff in that season. They literally throw a lasso around the earth and tow it on back to where it should be. You know, like, there's some garbage in there. But somehow Catherine Tate's, like, just her tenure in the TARDIS is fun. It's a throwback.
And she's like her character is the kind of person. I don't
yeah.
really dig on her. Like, she's not the type of person I would want to hang out with. But like, she's just handled so much better that story, even though it's kind of like a rehash of like the events that happened the last season or two of the show. Like, it's kind of it's not a nothing story, but kind of. Yet it's at the same time super epic and super depressing. But it's so good. And then like you look at this and it's like a mishmash, choppy, trying to be fun, trying to shoehorn lazily in human drama and a kind of somewhat ill-conceived like romance that doesn't really work and consists simply of suddenly Yaz likes the Doctor and she's just going to be mopey about it like for 5 minutes out of every episode. What? Why?
I was going to say Easter specials just don't work, but City of Death was still better than this.
You know, I think I know what it is, really. And you mentioned it even. It's because that was all like a character development.
Yeah.
And that's what this Chibnall's entire run is lacking. He doesn't connect you with any of the characters, including the Doctor. It's all just like surface crap that nobody cares about. He doesn't get into any of the characters or what they're feeling or how they grow, any of that. None of it. It's all like mediocre, like that he throws out there that doesn't really resonate with anybody. That's why it's such crap.
That really surprises me too. Of course, I don't know much about his other work. I guess, he's written some episodes that are not always great, but he's whatever. And he's done he's done a bunch of Torchwood stuff, and that was okay. But I was excited. I love the first season of Broadchurch. Broadchurch, and that show is just all about the characters. This town of characters.
Yeah.
So I'm really surprised because it seems like the characters are not that interesting. They are, you nailed it, Melanie, surface level. Here's a thing about this character. It's not even that going to be that important. He can ride a bike. He can't ride a bike. It doesn't matter. He can run and climb a ladder when he needs to. So, just to give him one thing, whatever, and that's all they need. And we're just going to have a formulaic, like, well, each episode has to have like a companion needs to connect with a victim or whatever they want to call it every episode.
Yeah, a victim.
And then we have to have one companion and companion talk about the Doctor, and that's it. Like there's, but he seems more interested in like the idea of things, and is not particularly good about connecting the scenes. I feel like, and this is something I think Melanie said about Flux, and I could be wrong, but it seems like he's got the story in his head, and he's written things down and filmed the scenes, and doesn't recognize that there's things missing between it that like he might understand because he's got the story in his head, but it doesn't translate, and it just seems like choppy and funky. And this episode seems a lot like that, where it's just like there's ideas happening, but it's not really working. It's not coming together.
Right. So there's one more, right? Before okay.
As far as I know, yeah. It's just the one. And that'll have to be either the regeneration or the start of the regeneration.
Or maybe they'll stretch it out and it'll be like a Tenant thing where it takes like a week.
We lost everybody. We're usually not this sour. We're at 0. No one's watching. We're usually never at 0. Oh.
Well, I know why Paul's not here. I know why Savannah's not here. I don't know why anybody else. I didn't even know I don't know who else ever watches actually. So there you go.
I guess we get close to whatever. There's usually at least one.
And the one who would be like all in on this Doctor Who talk is not here. Because Matty D's always down for some Doctor Who.
Yeah, I feel bad for ragging on it so much.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. None of this matters. I am. Oh, and Melanie said something. We were talking about it while we were watching or after that, like. And it kind of sucks, but like, Yaz, I was kind of on board with Yaz. She seems like potentially a cool character.
Definitely the best of the fam.
Yeah.
But they don't really. It seemed like they kind of dropped her whole thing. She was a cop.
Right.
For an episode, that was her backstory, and then after that, like, that has nothing to do with anything. You think her like police training could have come up at some point in their adventures, but like it never does. She does not necessarily the type to come in and take charge unless she remembers to look at what
I was just gonna say, like, she needs a bracelet that will or whatever she wrote on her hand or whatever.
Ignore all the police training I'm sure she's had to go through.
Right.
Well, I don't know how they are over there. Never mind that. Some places are real lax on their police training. And then they had the thing where it kind of seemed like maybe I guess they were leading up to her like trying to be more like the Doctor. But at first I was like, that's kind of promising. They're going to get rid of the other two. Yaz is going to try to like be more of a, up for adventure type. And then she just turned into Mopey. Mopey needs Dan to intermediate this and facilitate this non-relationship thing going on. Lame, man. Like, what a kind of letdown.
Oh, but Dan gets to hang out with his that chick that he likes now, so that's good.
Right. She called and apologized.
If he doesn't die.
Right.
He won't die just because he's too cheerful.
Right.
No.
And he's a beloved British comedian.
Oh,
okay.
is he?
Well, maybe.
Okay, then yeah, he won't die.
I don't know though.
See, well then maybe they should have made him like the star companion because isn't Donna a beloved British comedian?
Yeah.
See, there you go. They just need to keep using beloved British comedians and pop stars. And
right, yeah.
There you go.
Just we need another Titanic episode. Do it.
that actually was crap.
yeah. No, I mean, you think back, like Tennant, his run didn't end so well either. He did this same thing where he just was like special, and a lot of those specials were not so special.
I remember hating the specials with the Master, which I think were the last.
The end of time, yeah. The last two were, yep.
Oh, the one before the first. I think in particular the first of the two-parter, because weren't the last two specials kind of like a.
Yeah, they were. Like, it was a two-parter. End of time part 1 and end of time part 2. On my rewatch even recently, it's still not good. I hate it. It's bad.
The Master turn that's the one where Master turns everyone on Earth into him.
Yeah.
That's stupid. I hate it. And he's
after being a glowing skeleton for a while
and consuming people whole, like actually eating them. So stupid.
Isn't the Master supposed to be in this last?
It looks like, yeah. Yeah, they're just throwing everything in there. It looks like we'll bring the Master back. We'll bring back Tegan. We'll bring back Ace. We'll bring everybody back that we can get.
Mm-hmm. Sarah Jane probably will do it. She'll do anything.
We'll bring back Captain Jack. Oh, we can't bring back Captain Jack. He got canceled.
Right.
Oh, that sucks.
Whoops.
You know he'd be in it too, otherwise.
Yeah.
I'm assuming.
I like it.
Pulling on Tegan. Come on. I'm so sour on Tegan. They can't even. I like Ace though. I'm not gonna complain about Ace. If it was just Tegan, I'd be like, figures. That's who he's gonna pull.
I just wish that they wouldn't do it with Chibnall. You know, like I wish that RTD could have done it because, like, I think it was him. I think his original plan for Ace was to bring her back in the Chronicles of Sarah Jane, and she was gonna be like. She's gonna like pull up in a car that said like Ace on like a vanity plate kind of thing, and she was gonna be like this mover and shaker and whatnot, and who knows what she is in this, but like,
right?
I just read like that rumored treatment of Ace, and I was just like, that's what Ace would have done.
Awesome.
Like she would have been the companion that after the Doctor, after they went off and got their tea before it's getting cold somewhere. she would have done something with all of this training that the doctor gave her.
Right.
Or her explosives would have exploded somewhere they shouldn't have, and she'd be in prison.
She became an arms dealer.
Yeah.
Nitro 9, baby. I'm bringing it to the masses.
How weird. Yeah, no, you're right. She would, yeah. I didn't know that.
I think long term she was one of my favorite companions. Her and that Layla chick.
Oh yeah.
And Jamie. Those were probably my 3 favorite companions.
Yeah.
Although we bag on Tegan, but we love to complain about Tegan. So,
Yeah. Tegan, I will say, she was interesting as a companion because she seemed to hate it.
Yeah, she did.
I don't know why she stuck around so long. Her character, she seemed to hate traveling with the doctor.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's not usually, companions will often get to the point where they eventually hate it. She just did not seem to like it at all the whole time. And she let it be known constantly. And that's probably why I have a negative disposition towards her. But it's interesting. That's interesting as a,
Yeah. Yeah, and my hate for her is different than my hate for Adric because yeah, she was just whiny and annoying. Adric was I'm aren't you supposed to be a genius? What's wrong with you? Get out of here. I'm glad you crashed into the planet.
He stopped being a genius after the 4th Doctor somehow.
Yeah.
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 Okay. Sorry, we went on to it's Doctor Who. That's inevitable. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Oh. One point I wanted to also touch on. Speaking of turn left, even the great episodes, RTD was not perfect, because even that episode, I feel like it's obvious that they're leading up to a Bad Wolf reveal.
Oh,
and they nailed the moment. She's like, oh, she told me 2 words, blah blah blah, because that's when Rose is all up in that Bad Wolf, and oh yeah, they nailed the moment. Yeah, Bad Wolf. It was Rose.
The payoff was not good.
And then the doctor's and runs outside, and every sign says Bad Wolf, and he looks on the police box, it says Bad Wolf, and the little paper, whatever the little display, he looks at it, zooms in, quick zoom, Bad Wolf, Bad Wolf, Bad Wolf, and I'm like, why? And he runs in, and the cloister bells or whatever are going you were fine. Just let her say it. Have the shocked look and end it. That would have been
That's
perfect.
true, yeah.
And then RTD's problem is he always
score creep. If it wasn't a Dalek, one singular Dalek, then it was a group of Daleks, and then it was the original Daleks, and then it was a fleet of Daleks, and then it was a planet. Well, that went into Moffat too, but yeah.
It and that period especially was during the threatens the whole planet, and then it's going to threaten the whole universe, then it's going to threaten reality itself. It's just everything was bigger and bigger and bigger, to the point it's dude, walk up to the edge and then just stop. You don't have to then take 7 steps past it. It's fine.
You legit made one Dalek scary. Mm-hmm. And that was the only time that was ever true.
Yeah.
Really the best Dalek episode I think I've ever seen was Eccleston and the last Dalek, supposedly.
Yeah, that was a great episode.
Mm-hmm. See, he's a good doctor. I don't know why more people aren't on board with him.
I think people respect Eccleston. He just had the 1 season though, and so that's kind of limited. And he wasn't, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe people were woo, sexy doctor. But Tennant brought in, woo,
yeah, he did,
sexy doctor. And I feel like that's kind of when it exploded. Which
is weird, because Tennant is not sexy. He's definitely has appeal, but he's not sexy.
He's a little skinny chicken leg man, he seems
He must be a British Adrian Brody, or the best they can do. I don't know.
I feel like Adrian Brody's a British Adrian Brody.
Oh, is he?
No, I think I don't think he is British, but he seems like he should be.
I don't know, but he's not all that attractive, but he's got a lot of appeal.
It's the nose.
For me, maybe, but.
So, Jesse, what do you think? David Tennant or Adrian Brody? MFK,
what?
man.
for
We're
what?
Playing this.
Oh, good. Oh, that's what I want to do with my Thursday night.
Listen, I see the view numbers. We can do whatever we want.
MFK.
We're just entertaining ourselves. No, I suppose we could move on.
Yeah.
Real quick, we'll do a short segue from that to the other main thing. Melanie and I watched a movie last night called X. Just one X.
Yep, just one. Although it should have been 3.
And it's a movie I think I just heard about not long ago, and I think we talked about it. I mentioned it on the show because like a trailer came out. But it's by his name escapes me right now. Ty West.
I was gonna say yeah.
Ty West, who did House of the Devil and The Innkeepers, and some other things. But I really liked those first couple of movies of his I saw because they're like cool slow burn horror movies. And I like the trailer because it's set in the 70s and it had a very 70s Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I was gonna say that. Yeah, the trailer looked more like Texas Chainsaw Massacre than the trailer for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre one.
Yeah, and it nails that vibe. It nails it. At least it nails the 70s vibe. And the kind of like slasher vibe. But at the same time, I don't know how. I don't really necessarily want to give too much away about it. But like,
can I give a little bit away?
If you watch the trailer, just know it's kind of exactly what you might expect. But at the same, if you don't watch the trailer, it's not. You just don't assume it is what it's going to be.
Right.
Well,
we watched the trailer and I had completely forgotten about it. And then the day before we watched it, I saw a thing and it was talking about how creepy old people are. And that movie was brought up and I'm like, oh, creepy old people. Okay, I guess I'll watch it.
And I don't want to get into spoilers, but like, it is the thing where it sets the thing up, and yes, creepy old people, and it is a slasher type, and then you're waiting for like, well, what's the other weird thing? Like, and there is kind of another weird thing, but like, you're like, what's the really weird thing other than creepy old people? No.
Nope.
It's a creepy old people, man. Like,
yeah.
It's really strange.
It is. Yeah. And it's a lot. I mean, not like it's a lot tamer than I would have expected it to be, honestly, too. But it was okay. Yeah.
There were more kills technically off screen than I would have expected, but when there's gore,
oh man, yeah,
there's hardcore gore. It's hardcore gore.
Yeah.
Anyway.
There's definitely times that you're like, ooh.
Is it Psycho Gore, man?
Okay, here we go. I'll just end it on the description. In
No
1979, a group of young filmmakers. What?
I said no. It's no puppets.
Yeah, I don't think so. In 1979, a group of young filmmakers set out to make an adult film in a secluded farmhouse in rural Texas. Their reclusive elderly hosts take a special interest in their young guests, and as night falls in, the couple's leering interest turns to violent. The couple's leering interest takes a violent turn.
Yep.
That's the movie.
That is the movie.
I liked it. I recommend it. I give it 4 stars. That might be a little high, 3.5, but I'll knock it up because I like the style.
Yeah, it was pretty good. There wasn't a whole lot more to it, but there didn't really need to be either.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it. X. It's hard to search up. So X 2022.
Sounds like an excellent something.
Slasher? Sure.
Yes. Excellent slasher.
Yeah.
Well, I have no segues. Moon Knight, guys. Let's talk about some Moon Knight.
Moon Knight. Okay.
I wasn't as disappointed with this episode as I was last week's.
No, I wasn't. And in fact, I laughed at the end for so long. It was great.
Yeah.
It was my favorite thing in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, like the thing that ending was so good about it is like they were so like pulling on the Jeff Lemire stuff. So I had like certain expectations, but they were also twisting it too. And so I was like ready for almost anything. And then that hit. And I'm like, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, the absurdity of it was fantastic. The very, very end. It's not even so much the like thing that happens, it's the reaction to it was spot on what it should have been. Like it reminds me of one of my favorite commercials where the like little sun jumps off the orange box and then everybody in the room is like ah! And like runs screaming, because if the sun dropped off the orange box in real life, that's what you would do.
Right. When the two different personalities both reacted like perfectly, you know, like that's another.
The
like,
one was, I noticed the one scream was like, super high pitched.
Yeah, and then the other one's like ready to fight it. Like, you're gonna fight this? Come on, Spectre.
Yeah, it was good. I have no idea what's going on though.
The hospital stuff was giving me Legion vibes, and I was like, I kind of wish this went heavy Legion style. It's not going to.
Well, how do you know? Maybe it will. Maybe the whole first half of this season, or I don't know how many episodes are left, but was just a hallucination. Who knows?
Well, see, that's what I was like, I kind of wish wherever they're going with this, I kind of wish they would have seeded this in or like led with this as just, if anything, just a misdirect to make you question things more, because that's potentially a good angle. Before this, and I was amused because Melanie was like, "Oh, is there a new episode of she misspoke. She's like, the Mummy? That's not right. What is it?" And I was like, "Yeah, no, that's right. It's the Mummy." That's pretty much what the show is.
Oh my god, especially this episode for their I mean, like they even brought in like mummies.
Right.
I enjoyed the horror element, and I feel like it worked a little bit more than some of the earlier little bits of horror they tried to thread in there.
Mm-hmm.
Not having Khonshu in this was really great.
Yeah.
Like taking him out of the mix was like kind of what we needed.
Mm-hmm.
I like the creatures. That was actually like it without it getting gory was actually like left enough to the imagination. It's like, oh, that's gross. That's a horrible scenario. Basically, you get caught by a creature and disemboweled,
mummified.
Still alive.
Yeah.
And they look cool. That weird clicky sound they did with their mouths or whatever was super cool. I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah, the sound was ominous, but I don't really understand why. But it doesn't matter, I guess.
Right, it's the kind of sound you'd expect. Like, it's how they see. It's with sound, but like, I just assume they're supernatural, so that's not really a thing they have to worry about.
Yeah.
This episode felt like the total opposite of how we felt last time, which was like, nothing's happening. Why is this still the same? Everything is still the same.
Right.
And then we get to this one, and it's like, whoa, they jam-packed this episode with stuff. And I was not bored with this one.
No,
yeah, it moved along at a good clip. They were doing things instead of just standing there not doing things, which sounds like a basic thing that, you know.
I have a question. I don't know that anybody knows, and maybe they don't bring it up in the comics, but so when they make the gods, then one of those little statues, what happens if you break it? Do they get released or do they die?
Yeah, I was wondering.
I don't know. I don't know if I know the answer to that. I don't know if this is pulling from a storyline or what.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just because he pulled that one out, and I'm like, so smash it and get rid of it, and then your problems are done. But I don't know that it actually works that way.
stylistically, not to necessarily jump towards the end again, but he gets shot, whatever, and then there's that shot of him like floating off into the darkness, which then goes into an obviously like VHS looking TV show production of some stuff. It was like this took a turn.
I thought for a second that we were gonna just like start over with Stephen Grant as the movie producer for a second, and then the main character like announces himself as Stephen Grant, and I was like, I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, heavy Legion vibes on that, but that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little bit more like I wish they would have lent. That's kind of not necessarily the wacky aspect I was expecting, but yeah, I wish they would have leaned a little bit more into the psychological aspect of making you question it, like the character questioned it at the beginning of the season. The problem I think now is, I mean, I'm interested, I'm curious where it's going, but the problem is like, well, we know he's not crazy, so.
I mean, he's crazy, but he's not like that. He's not.
It's
insane asylum crazy,
right? Yeah. Like it's justified. Like we know, not to say that people can't be crazy. It's fine, but we understand the reason for it. So we know there's forces that cause him. He's talking to another person, or there is a ancient god that sometimes commands him to do things.
Right.
Right.
It's crazy because it's like they took the Jeff Lemire run and they did it backwards, because this is kind of where it starts in the Jeff Lemire run, where it starts with him in the hospital wondering if he's just crazy or whatnot, and then starting to figure out that no, that's Amut. That person that I've been calling Dr. Emmett is actually Amut in disguise. And then like one of the cool Easter eggs was that orderlies, is the one refers to him as Bobby or Billy or whatever. And so Bobby and Billy are the orderlies in the Jeff Lemire run. We were first introduced to them as cops. Well, they show up as cops later on in the Jeff Lemire run when things are wibbly wobbly.
Well, maybe that is what it is. Maybe like the beginning was he is a little crazy at the moment because, whatever. And then it starts from there, and then it goes on into the real world where it still is real. It's just not as he thought in his hallucinations or whatever they are.
I know as soon as I say this, it's going to like stall the conversation, but you two talk amongst yourselves for a moment. I have to use the restroom.
Yeah, we were going to stop talking for sure.
How about that? I don't know.
Okay.
way to stop the conversation by trying to keep it going.
Well, we kind of hit all the things that I were particularly interested in on this episode. I can't think of what else there was.
Well, we could just find out what we're amazed about if you want.
Oh, man. Do it.
Okay.
All
right. So what we should be amazed about right now is it's actually, they've been talking about it for a little while. So the sun has a cycle that it goes through. It's approximately 11 or 12 years, where there's actually smaller cycles inside those cycles too, where it'll get, it'll flare up more and then it'll get lower and then it'll flare up more and then it'll get lower. But the big flares come approximately every 11 or 12 years. And the next peak or whatever is supposed to be in 2025. So we're still a few years away. And before that big peak, usually it gets a little lower and then we'll start to pick up. But right now, the solar flares are a lot bigger than we predicted that they would be currently. And there have been at least 3 that were so big that we were slightly concerned. One of them missed us altogether, but the other 2 did hit, but they weren't that bad. And solar flares, if you don't know, they hit our magnetosphere or whatever, and that blocks a lot of the radiation. But that's how we get auroras, like the Northern Lights.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And so we have that to look forward to, because it's not going to slow down from what everybody's saying. It's not going to slow down. It's just going to keep getting worse. And the
So we
thing
can
is,
expect our tech to just go crazy for a while.
exactly, that's the thing. That like last time we hit really high ones was I think in 2003. I'm not sure though. But it knocked out like Africa and parts of Europe for weeks. So right now, since we're having this problem, everybody's trying to strengthen the power grids and everything like that, and maybe kind of protect. But even so, there's a possibility that it will knock out a bunch of technology. And the solar flares that have been going just now are actually, they were saying, big enough that they would encompass the planet.
Oh, wow.
So it wouldn't just be like half of the world. It'd be the whole world would be having issues with it. So
Wow, that's quite, because that would have like it would hit and then wrap around.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well,
Mm.
it might not be quite as bad just because of the shape that our magnetosphere takes, because it's not a perfect circle. It's kind of like it circles and then it comes back a little bit, but then it bows back out.
Hmm.
And then snaps and then flings stuff off, which is fun. But so yeah, they're concerned about that, but they're trying to prepare for it. And the main thing that I wanted to bring up was there's going to be some awesome auroras that we should be able to see actually just all over, maybe possibly all over the world, but definitely just in regular North America. We should be able to see some. So keep an eye out on the skies, especially if you hear anything about solar flares, because it's going to be awesome.
Cool.
Yep.
I'm amazed.
Yep.
Sorry.
And okay, sorry. I wonder what, because that we have our magnetosphere that keeps us protected from the sun. Well, our solar system also has one that is created by the sun and everything. And then outside of that, it's weird. We don't really know. We've only had two the Voyagers that have exited the solar system so far. And it's a lot thicker and weirder than we expected it to be. I wonder, what is creating the things that are outside of us that our solar system is protecting us from. I'm so excited. I want to venture into the universe.
Call Jeff Bezos.
That's okay.
Right,
yeah, I want
right.
to see the universe, but not in a penis-shaped rocket.
Right.
Why did it look exactly like that? Why? Of course it did. It's because whoever writes reality is a hack.
Right.
And at some point they
I mean,
decided,
we bust on Chibnall, but whoever's doing the real thing, wow,
like,
cliche.
I can
real
make this
cliche.
a total farce. And what are they gonna do?
Yeah.
Oh man, they thought they were funny.
Stranger than fiction.
Mm.
I feel real bad about this episode a little bit. I feel bad about how, but not that we were too hard on Who, but I feel like I was maybe we were a little off-putting to people. That's okay.
Were you talking about your weird, funky shoes that put people off or something?
I think that's when we lost Savannah. That's for sure.
Mm.
So here's what I'm thinking.
Mhm.
Maybe the Batman next week.
Yeah.
And then we can start
The Nick.
What? Yeah, the Cageverse, whatever we're gonna call it.
Yeah. GCU, Grawlix Cage Universe.
The Cage Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
The CCU. The GCCU.
Oh yeah, that's a G, not a C, huh? It still works. Yeah. So that's the plan anyway. Quick side note for audio listeners. So, sorry, I'll be trying to do an episode dump. I did get an episode up this week, and I figure by the time it should be caught up by the time we're hitting Cage. and those episodes might go out on the GCU feed. So this, I guess, is another warning. I mentioned it, I think, last week, but just a heads up.
And GCU listeners, welcome back.
Welcome back. I feel bad. Like, I mean, not horrible because whatever, it's my show, but they know where they can find me. But it'd be good to have some stuff up on there again. Hey, Jesse, you got anything you want to mention before we go?
Nope, not a single
Such
thing.
An off episode.
Nothing. I don't know. If you're interested, you could go check out Dimensions.
Right.
Wherever that is on Podbean.
Sweet. I don't necessarily have anything coming up right away. I just been, just working and playing with AI stuff. That's all I've been doing.
Yep.
That's all I've been doing. Need to watch more movies, I think. Melanie's going to agree with that.
Yep.
She's always on me to watch more movies. We've been watching Young Wallander, and I'm enjoying it. Moody detective.
Yeah. So it's all about for you.
Sometimes, yeah. So the Batman. Okay.
Yeah. Next time. Same Grawlix time, same Grawlix channel.
Hear me out. The Batman, but he's a pirate. Wait. They've done that. They have done that. Yeah.
I think Grant Morrison well, no, I'm sure they did that in the 60s. I guarantee they done that in the 60s when Batman got real wacky. But I know Grant Morrison had a Batman. Well, Grant Morrison brought all that wackiness back, though. That's his thing.
Right. He's
Speaking of wacky, before the episode ends, I want to give a shout out to our cat dancer, Savannah. She's not here anymore, but she's a cat dancer.
Not listening right now. She's still around.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't worry.
But she is on the cat dancer level of Patreon, which means she gets a shout out every episode, and she gives us lots of support, and we appreciate that. And if you want to support us, you can also go to patreon.com/Grawlix or something like that.
Grawlix Podcast. Everything /Grawlix Podcast.
/Grawlix Podcast. And help us out.
Yeah.
You get yourself so many bonus episodes if you do that.
Tons.
Yes, you do.
We talk about weird stuff. That stuff on those episodes. It gets real weird.
Some of those specials. You know why we don't have, we just do that on the live streams now.
Yeah, that was the thing. We stopped doing as many bonus episodes because we were getting all the good stuff for the pre-show.
Right.
By the time we did the show, it was like, well, let's talk about the normal thing.
Yeah.
You're right. Man, the pre-shows were great. There's 60 plus episodes. Go there. Become a supporter. Be a hero.
Be a hero.
Be a cat dancer. Or a bat dancer. You're not my dad.
Or a hero dancer.
Or hero dancer.
You're not my dad.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks everybody for listening. If you want to hear more, go to grawlixpodcast.com. I don't need to spell it. You're listening to it now. You figured it out. You found it. Congratulations.
Good job.
Good job. Proud of you.
Yay.
You're a hero.
You're my hero.
You know what